All right, welcome. This is Sebastian from Breath Restaurant Marketing, and today I want to welcome you to our webinar and on the restaurant owner's playbook on growing private events. All right, so let's get started. So before get started, just a couple of ground rules here, so you can really get the most out of this webinar, and you can really apply the things that we're going to be talking about here for your own restaurant. So please, of course, take notes. So turn off your cell phones, turn off your social channels, and if you're really serious about this, you want to just pay full attention to what we're going to be talking about here. All right, so what are we going to be covering today? We're going to be talking about crafting your marketing strategy, which is the most important part of the base for everything we're going to be doing here. We're going to be talking about choosing the right platforms for growing your private events. So what are the ones that are really driving the best results and get you what you're looking for? Then setting up lead generation campaigns and best practices for that. We're going to talk about specifically pay-per-click, Google, and social. And then we're going to talk about email strategy, right? And then how do you leverage, of course, your customer data for creating personalized email strategy, right? And lastly, we're going to talk about some KPIs and tracking, which is going to, of course, help you understand and track your results. All right. So who am I and why you should listen to me? This is not to brag. This is just to give you a little bit of background on myself. So you know that what I'm going to teach you comes from firsthand experience. So I've been in the industry over 16 years, actually 17. So I own operated restaurants. So I've been on your side before, and I really understand what it takes and all the frustrations and what happens in the industry. So if I figured out, my obsession has always been to how to help now, restaurant owners that have gone through the same things that I have. And by creating all of these services and these things that we can, really get the results that they're after. So I was also the head of marketing for 8 years for a leading hospitality group in South Florida with multiple concepts and awards. We have a track record of 99% of client retention over 3 years that we've been operating our agency. And that's a great thing because, obviously we're getting results for clients, so they're happy they're staying with us. Articles published on Restaurant Business Online and other publications. And I have a new book coming out. So please be on the lookout for that. Of course, we'll send we'll keep you guys posted. So when you can get it, the Restaurant Marketing Insider with great information on restaurant marketing from A to C, right? Okay. So also we work with restaurants across the US and helping them with their restaurant marketing needs. All right. So here are some testimonials. We're not going to get into this again. We're going to share. You'll have all this information available if you want to look at it. And let's just get into this. All right. So let's get into crafting your strategy or creating your strategy. And where do you start? So this is a very important step that many restaurant owners or marketers miss because sometimes they just want to go into the tactics, right? They just want to go directly into, okay, let me set up some Google ads, let me set up some paid social because I want results fast, right? But if you skip this important step of strategy, you're going to get limited results because the strategy is really going to be driving those tactics. And if there's not a thought process behind it, then the results are going to be limited and it's not really scalable. And then when you need to pivot, you need to refer back to your strategy, right? And we see this over and over again, just running ads with no strategy and the results are lackluster. Okay. So then you also, for when you're creating a strategy, there's a few things to consider. So you want to understand your buyer's journey. We're going to get into that right now. You want to identify your target audience. Again, we're going to talk about now. Evaluate your current content, your presence, your digital presence, where you're at with all these places where you're presenting the information about your private events. We're talking about that right now, just private events. We're not going to get into just the restaurant itself. And then it's defining what are the most effective channels that you're going to use to promote your private events. Okay. We're going to talk about most of them or all of them. And then we're going to get into the ones that are going to drive results the fastest. But again, it's going to be driven by strategy. Okay. So, and lastly, we're going to get into how to create your plan, or we're not going to get into just how to create your plan, but you want to create your plan and how to lay all this stuff out. Okay. So starting out with your strategy, okay, understanding your buyer's journey. Why is this important? Because you need to understand all of these stages because you're going to design, you have to look at all the places where people are finding you and see where you need to create new things, improve things, and what you need to do basically. So let me explain. All right, so these are the phases of the buyer's journey. So awareness, interest, desire, action. So in the awareness phase, that's where people are just finding out about your services. They're finding out about your restaurant. They're finding out about your private event rooms, right? So there's different places where they're going to find you, right? Or you can help people find you, really, right? So that's going to be, of course, your website, your Google listing, when people are, they see you there, your social media presence. Now you get into the paid advertising, which is your paid ads, social media, Google, right? If you're doing, you might be doing other stuff, but just talk about that. Referrals, people that are referring you, right? So that's also a stage of awareness. And direct sales, if you have somebody that's doing outbound, calling, doing that stuff, that type of cold calling. And then you have your email, right? Let's say you're sending out emails to people about your services, about your private event rooms, or or your event rooms in general, your spaces for that. Okay. So here, all of these things that we just mentioned, you want to make sure that all of these are covered and you have enough information there, or the right information there, about your private event rooms or your private event spaces, and then also that you have the right information, the right content, and everything makes sense, because that's when you're creating that phase of awareness. People are finding out about you, so you want to definitely give out the best impression possible, right? Now we're moving into interest, or the consideration phase. That's when somebody saw your content, right? They saw your website, or they saw your listing, and then they went into your website, or they saw something on social, they saw your paid ads, something, right? Now they say, okay, I'm interested. Now I'm going to go into the consideration phase. I am going to research more about this place and see if it's something that I want to pursue, right? And then take that final action into booking a call or into booking an event, whatever that may be, right? Okay, so it is important to understand this, because this is the stage where, again, evaluating all of your channels and understanding that you have to be providing all the right information and complete information here. So there, it's easier for them to make that decision. And then action, that's the last stage. Once you generate that desire, then it goes into the action where people actually fill out the form, they call you, and they take that action of booking an event with you. Okay, of course, there's a few things to look at in this phase, and we're going to talk about that next. Okay. So your current content and your online presence, like what are the things that you need to be looking at? So first, of course, your private events page, right, on your website. Does it have a beautiful design? Does it have all the information that people are looking for, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing this, because what happens? So if you have an events manager, if you're doing the events yourself, then you know that when you're booking an event with somebody, they give you a list of questions always. Oh, do you have AV? Do you have a TV? Do you provide these type of packages? Whatever it is that they're asking, then what you want to do is make a list of all those things. So once you have that list of all those things, those are the things that you want to provide on your website, because then you can really shorten the sales process and help whoever's looking at all that information make a decision faster. Okay, so keep that in mind. Clear CTAs, that's clear call to actions. That means that you're making it easy for them to take that action, the next step of submitting a form, an inquiry form, or they're calling you, right? Or if you, in case you want to, they're booking an appointment with your events manager, whatever that may be. Just very clear on your page, because I do see many times that many restaurants have landing pages, or their private events page, and they have a lot of information, but they don't have a clear call to action. So people can't find the place where to make that call, or where to fill out that form. So what happens is they just leave that form. They leave that page and it's done. As you can imagine, private events is not, there's competition for that, right? So they're evaluating, because it's a high ticket item. Guests or prospects are evaluating different options. It's not just your restaurant. Unless they really, really want to book an event with your restaurant, they're usually evaluating other options, and they're going to be looking at different, of course, at pricing, at setting. They're going to be looking at different things throughout to make that final decision. Okay. All right. CRM, event management tool. Make sure if you don't have one, that's okay. But I would highly suggest that you have one, because that's going to help you just be more organized. That's more on the operational side, but it's also going to be helpful on the marketing side, because it allows you to do certain things. We're not going to get into those details, but just consider that. Okay, of course, having your event brochures or your menus, right? Your group packages, all that stuff that you have, so that people can see it. Have your Google listing, have the information there as well. Make sure that it mentions that you have offer private events or private dining, right? And then also be present on your social media. And then in terms of SEO, I'm not going to get into too much details about SEO, but if you're able to create content on a blog, or you're able to create that you can have on your site about private events and continuously feed that, then eventually it's going to help, of course, your website rank higher when people are searching for those keywords like private events or private event spaces or any of those. Okay. All right. Any key takeaways? Anything that you want to ask? Any questions so far? All right. Yeah, I do have a question. It says, Charlie, my restaurant website is being redesigned. Should I hold my campaigns until it's ready? So Charlie, yes, I would suggest to hold on for that. There's other things you can do. You can go into a service or a platform like Unbounce where you can create landing pages very easily, and then you can make sure you have your call to actions and those things, and what we were talking about. But if it's not going to take too long, I would suggest to wait to have a nice laid out page with, again, clear call to actions and all the things that you need. So then when you're running ads, you're not wasting money and you're sending people where they can actually get, have a good experience, user experience, and then convert into a lead. Okay. So I would hold off for that. All right. Any other questions? Oh, Anna, yeah, will you talk about how to follow up on leads? Yes, we'll discuss a little bit about how to follow up with leads. This is not really about a sales webinar, but we'll get into a little bit of why it's important to follow up and how to set up automations so you can, when a lead is coming in, it goes directly to your phone. Not just your email, but you can set up text notifications so you can follow up immediately. All right. So let's move forward. So now we're going to be talking about the next step, which is defining your most effective marketing channels. Okay, for this particular service, we're talking about private events again. Okay, so where do prospects find you for these events? Okay, so normally when people are looking for a place, when they're looking for private events, where are they going to go? They're going to go to Google, right? That's the easiest place where they're going to be able to find some options. So that would be the first one. And then when they go to Google, where do they land? Your website, right? You're going to see your listing and then they're going to go to your website because they want to see what you have to offer. Then yes, social media, referrals, which is also a great tool. We're going to talk about that later. Then your review platforms, of course, are going to be looking at, reviews. In general, they're going to have a lot of specific, they won't have private event specific reviews sometimes in some restaurants, so that you want to include those also on your landing page or on your website page about private events. Okay. All right, so what are the top channels now to drive fast results? Because that's what we want to focus on today. We want to focus on what are the channels that are going to drive the results the fastest. So how can I start growing these private event sales as fast as possible? So PPC is Google, right? Pay-per-click, social media ads. We're going to talk about that. And then your guests, of course, that's your database. We're going to talk about personalized email in the last stage. All right, so let's get into Google. So we did a webinar already on Google and how to set up the correct structure on your pay-per-click for driving private events. We're going to go through this again here, but we're going to go a little bit faster. Okay. If you want the details on how to set this up specifically, then you can also refer to our first webinar and we'll send a link where you can see all the details for that so you can implement it yourself. But anyways, why do you want to use Google AdWords for driving event leads? So like I was saying before, that's where people are searching for. So you're going to be able to start showing up quickly, when you run these ads for those specific keywords. So keywords means the search terms what people are entering on their computer when they're saying, hey, private event restaurants or restaurants with best private events, whatever it is that they're searching for, those terms, you can include them on your ads. So then you're going to be found for those specific words, those keywords. Okay. And you're going to show up as often as possible where your customers are looking. That's where they're looking, right? They're looking in Google. And you're going to be showing up for those relevant search terms like I just explained. Okay, so why do most pay-per-click or Google campaigns fail? Because this is something that a lot of restaurant owners have a problem with, because they might not have somebody that really knows how to do this. And they just set up Google ads based on just following instructions on the page. And sometimes if you don't understand the intricacies of this, they're not going to be successful. So one is failing to understand the auction process and the complexity for the restaurant industry itself. Then second is setting up only one ad group. So that means an ad group, for example, they're just saying, hey, we're going to just set up one ad that says private dining at this restaurant, whatever it is, and it's only one. It's not based, and that's not the right way to go. We're going to talk about why in the next slide. They don't use also specific text ads and landing pages for a group of keywords, and that's not a good thing. Again, we're going to go into the structure and how you do this, and they don't have a strong call to action or offer on their landing page, right? So these are the main things. Also, lastly, this is very important, and I see this happening many times, is that they're running ads, but when they're directing them, they're directing them directly just to their homepage, right? To their website's homepage. So they're not really so when you send them there, of course, they're not getting the information on private events, and they're not going to get the information that they're looking for. There's no clear CTA. It doesn't make sense. It's not matching what you have on the ads, what you have on your homepage, and people just leave. And of course, you lose those leads. You're not going to get people sending, requesting information or getting what they need. All right. So just talking about here a few examples, because if you're hesitant or you might be thinking, is this going to really drive ROI, right? Like pay-per-click, this is really going to work for private events. So let me just show you a couple of examples, a couple of case studies. These are real case studies. Padrino's Restaurants is one of our clients in South Florida. In 1 month, there was 53 conversions. I mean, there was 53 form submissions. There are actually more than that in terms of, there were some calls as well, but this is just form submissions, right? This is people requesting, right, an event. Okay, so your cost per conversion here was like $28. That means that was the cost per form submitted, which is really good if you consider the cost of each of these events, right? So let's look at the numbers here. So here you can see there was 53 leads in 1 month, and the conversion rate for this restaurant was approximately 40%. That means there was 21 booked events. Your average ticket for this restaurant is anywhere for between 1,000 to 1,500 per event. And with 21 orders times 1,000, that's $21,000 in sales. So that's pretty good, right? So that's really a 12x on your ROI, right? And you can't really get any better than that, right? Okay, so this is another example. This is another restaurant in New York City. These guys are a little bit more of a high-end concept, and they had in the first 2 weeks 17 leads, right? So just form submissions. Here, the cost per conversion is a little higher. It makes sense because it's more of an upscale restaurant. Not only that, but it's also in a very highly competitive city like New York City. So that makes sense. But let's look at the math here. We're looking at 17 leads. There was a 55% conversion rate here. So from the forms that actually turned into an event. So that was 9. So their average event there is 2,000. So really that turned into $18,000 in sales. Your ROI in this case was 25x. So that's 25 times. That's amazing. And so again, their ad spend was only $692 for that, for those 2 weeks. So that's a hell of an ROI. All right, so let's go into questions. What have you noticed? What have you learned? Is there anything that you want to ask? Anything that calls your attention? All right, yeah, Rebecca, how many ads should my PPC campaign have? That's a good question, Rebecca. We're going to get into those details later as we move into the presentation and how to structure your PPC campaign. But you're going to have different ad groups, right? And it's going to be by occasion. Okay, that's the ideal way of setting this up, because people are searching by different occasions. They're looking for places to celebrate baby showers. They might be looking for places for having a corporate event, or that they might be looking for places to have just a family dinner. So there's different occasions, different groups, and that's how you separate them. So you can have multiple ones, 3 to 4. There's not a right, wrong number. You just have to test it on your area, but you definitely want to create those ad groups. Okay. All right. So now let's see. Omar, I'm following up with my leads by phone. Should I consider other platforms? So Omar, actually calling is a great way of following up. It's actually very, very effective. Of course, you want to follow up also with email. SMS, I would not really go as far as to following up like that, but you can actually set that up as well if you'd like to. It makes sense sometimes. But following up immediately by phone, that's the best way to go. So we found that if you follow up in the first 5 minutes within a lead coming into your inbox, or of course, if they call you, got to follow up in the first 5 minutes, then your chances of closing that sale increases by 10 times. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, any more questions? All right, let me see. I think there's one more. Charlie, Can you help us fix conversion issues? Yes, we can, Charlie. So we'll after we can't get into that right now, but yes, we can after this webinar. After this, we can send you an email. We can definitely set up a call. We can help you out with that. All right. So how to set up and structure your PPC, your marketing campaigns for a minimum cost per lead and maximum cost per conversion. This is what we were talking about. This again we covered in the first webinar, so we're not going to get too much into details for this, but these are the things that you want to look at. Your structure is breaking your ads into smaller ad groups, like we were saying, by occasion. The conversion tracking is a must. Yes, you need to have the conversion set up so you know exactly what's happening. Make sure you have a strong understanding of keyword matches. We're going to get into that. Of course, the compelling text ads and how to write them and how do you set them up on Google. We're going to get into that as well, and how to, of course, leverage ad extensions, make your ad stand out on the page, and then make sure you have a solid landing page like we were talking about before. That's easy for people to ask something, to contact you, to get the information that they need. Okay, and then ongoing split testing. Okay. So first and foremost, it is incredibly important that you don't spend any money, that you don't set up these ads if you don't have conversion tracking in place, because you're gonna drive yourself nuts and you're not gonna really know if your efforts are being fruitful. Okay. So one way is setting up a platform like CallRail, right? There's other platforms like that. Basically what they do is it's number swapping. And on your ads, there's going to be a number that appears there from that platform. When they call, you're going to be able to track those calls specifically for each ad that you run. And you're going to be able even to record those calls, right? So you're even going to be able to know if the service over the phone is good. Okay. So that's really good. The web form tracking, of course, is just setting that up on, with your Google Analytics and conversion tracking. I'm not going to go into those details. You can find, if you don't know how to do it, you can look it up on Google, and it will show you on YouTube. You'll find videos on how to do that, but you can track form submissions. And then, of course, setting automated responses of when that form is submitted. It can be, of course, sent to you. And so you know that that's coming, but then also when you're reviewing the reports, you know that they actually came from your ads. Okay. So make sure that the conversion tracking is built into your AdWords campaign, which can determine also which ad group is generating the lead. So you already know which one that you're running is actually creating the results. So most important KPIs here is total spend, of course, average cost per click, average cost per lead. So that means average cost per call, average cost per web form. Okay. So for private events, there's usually an average. It just depends really where you are in which city and where you're at, but it's usually anywhere between $18 and $30 per lead, right? In catering, that's usually between 50 and 35. I'm not talking about catering today. We're just talking about private events, but that's kind of where it's at. And your ROI is usually between 3 and 8. It can be higher, as we just showed you guys in some examples. It just really depends on, your restaurant, where you're at, and on different factors. If you can track true ROI even better, of course, this is the way to go. You want to, all those leads that are coming in, you want to keep track of which ones are converting. That's a CRM is going to help you with that. So then you know really how much revenue you're getting from these events. Okay. If you have an events manager, of course, she can keep track of all this stuff, and she should be keeping track of all these things. Okay. So then you can match it to whatever you're spending on ad nets, and then you can really track your true ROI. So how to structure your ad campaign. We talked about this, of setting up the different ad groups by occasion. Okay. So for example, if you're doing a general private dining group is fine. Then you can do one specifically for corporate events, right? You have an ad for people searching for corporate events. So the ad itself is going to match in terms of wording for people that are searching for corporate. So best corporate events, spaces, we have, microphone AV available, all of these things that are specific to people looking for corporate events. The same thing is going to be for social events. So creating copy or ads specifically for people looking to do wedding rehearsals, or looking to do baby showers, and so you split those, right? You create different ad groups for all those occasions. So then whatever they're searching for is going to match the ad, and the ad then is going to go to a landing page that is going to match that ad in terms of wording. Okay. Keyword types matter. So what are the keyword types? So in Google, you have phrase match, exact match, and broad match. So those are the three things. So when you're setting up these ads, you want to make sure you use only a combination between phrase match and exact match. That means then when people are searching, those keywords need to, if it's a phrase match, they need to match in some way. And its exact match, of course, needs to match exactly to what people are searching. And the broad match means that they can remotely match to that. So I would stay away from broad match, because you're going to get people that are not really interested in your service and might click on your ad. You're just going to waste money. So stay away from broad match, keep with exact match and phrase match. Again, I'm going to stop there with those details. It's on the other webinar if you want to get more into learning more about keyword types and and really get into those details. Okay, so next is creating compelling text ads. This we know. Yes, we got to create good copy, all that stuff. Yes, but there's a little bit more to that in terms of how to structure it, right? So you want to use as much space as you can that Google will allow you, right, in terms of real estate on that page, with your ads. So there's different things that you want to make sure to include, right? Like your site links, your call extensions, right? And your location extensions. So as you can see here, this is an example of one that we were running. So as you can see, it occupies a lot of space, way more, like you can see here, than other people that are running ads. So for example, you have here this chain running this one, there's another one. See, there's smaller ad groups that just occupy the space. And then here, we're occupying a lot more space. So that's going to, of course, pop in the page when people are searching. Okay, so make sure you use all of these. Okay. All right, so then lastly, we're talking about the landing page. So make sure that you have all the information that we talked about at the beginning, that people are searching for, and then you have clear call to action buttons where you can show them, direct them into taking the next action. Either here, a phone call, or inquiring about an event. It's going to open a form, and then you can submit that. Here in this landing page specifically, again, I can't show it here, but if you do a take tour, it'll open a 3D, model of a 3D picture of the restaurant, and you can go into all the spaces, and then you can provide that type of experience. If you have, of course, a beautiful restaurant, you definitely want to consider doing something like this, because it really is going to set you apart, and it's provides that experience, and people can really see what they can expect when they get to your restaurant. All right, insights. Anything else that you guys want to? Any questions? Anything you want to talk about really quick before we move on? Okay. Yep. Are there any CRMs? Okay, yeah. Well, we'll talk about CRMs a little bit later, Nick, in the next part. But yeah, so no more questions about this. Okay, it's okay. Now we're gonna get to the next part, which is really into the next channels, right? So now we talked about pay-per-click and setting that up. So you use those things that we talked about here. But now we're gonna get into social ads, right? So this is the next part, because you want to be in all these channels where people, we talked about in the awareness stage, right? Where are they finding you, right? And then the next thing is, how can we drive more leads faster? So we're going to the paid ads side, which is Google, and now we're going into social media ads. So social media ads are different, because this is not, there's no search intent behind this most of the time, because people here, they're not going into social media, or they're it's okay, let me go search where to eat for, where to find a private, let me look for a restaurant that offers private events. This is more like you're getting in front of them. You're trying to get in front of people that might be interested, and you're just showing them, you're creating content that's going to be showcasing your restaurant, what you have to offer, so then they can be interested, right? You're basically creating that interest and creating that awareness, really, to drive that interest, and then driving them to your landing page, and then going through that process of the buyer's journey. Okay, so the strategy here is of course different than Google. Okay, the cool thing here is that you can really showcase your restaurant and what you're about, right? So you can get really creative with content, create beautiful video, all of this stuff. This is just one example I'm going to show you really quick of this restaurant in terms of a video that we create for private events. It's going to showcase their experience of setting up the tables, showing up the atmosphere of how people are going there, and then people they can kind of see what to expect, right? So this is just a quick example. You can get really creative with this, but you want to create great content that's going to be attractive, because of course you have very, very little time when people are scrolling on their social channels and they see something that calls their attention, right? But now the most important part, besides yes, creating beautiful video and photo content, is the actual targeting. Okay, so in terms of structure, when it comes to your social media ads, you want to have, for this, you want to create two campaigns. One for traffic, which means is you're going to direct people, it's going to be optimized to generate traffic to your website page, right, to that landing page. And the other one is reach, which is just awareness, right? So you're going to try to get in front of as many people as you can. So you want to run those two parallel ones, right? Those two parallelly. So, and you're going to create different ad sets for these campaigns, because you're going to have different audiences. Okay, you're going to have the two audiences. You want to have your prospecting audience. That means people that have not heard about you. They're not your customers, or they haven't been to your website, like, but you want to make sure that you set up the detailed targeting appropriately. So that means that the people you're going to be targeting with these ads have a much higher interest, or they might have a higher chance of being interested in what you're showing them. Okay. So Meta or Facebook allows you to set that up, right? So you can set up the age depending on your customer demographic. That's where you're going to set up, right? Then you can select job titles like event planners, right? Event organizers or event managers, or you can set up, just other professions, or corporate event planners. You'll see what what Facebook has available in terms of job titles or interest or behavior. So they have a whole list of things there, and you want to select the ones that makes most sense, right, for your restaurant. And then by interest, right? Also, like if people are interested in dining out and food and drink, like set those up there, because now you're narrowing your audience to people that are going to be a lot more interested in actually seeing your ads. Okay. And next, you're going to have a separate audience that's going to be another ad set where within the same campaign, right, which is going to be retargeting. That means anybody that has visited your website, or especially your private events page, right? You can create an audience, basically retarget people that visit there. I'm not going to get into the details of how to do that, but just go into YouTube. It'll show you how to set that up, but please do that. Then anybody that has visited your social channels, or that's had some type of contact, you want to create that audience and then set it up there and on that ad group. Okay, that ad set. And then additionally, if you have a customer database, upload your entire customer database on Meta or Facebook. If you haven't done that, if you know how to do that, it'll show you. Again, you can look it up on YouTube, but you create a custom audience and then you upload your database. And now anybody that has an email associated there on Meta that you have, you're going to be able to target them through those ads as well. Okay. So usually your retargeting list is going to be much smaller, but your chances of conversion, meaning they're going to be interested in your services and your offering, they're going to be much higher. Okay, because when you're talking about prospecting, these are people that have not heard about you, right? And you're just starting to get in front of them. So don't expect quick results there, because you want to have ongoing, because you're building, reminding them and positioning your brand and your spaces for your offerings within guests that have not heard about you. So you want to be you need to continue to be in front of them for a number of times. That means frequency. Then you're gonna that's the awareness side we were talking about. Then you get into generating interest, right? And then consideration. Then you move on to the action. Okay, so those are the things that you want to consider. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Same thing as Google here. Guys, just make sure that you have a solid landing page design so that's easy for people to see your offerings. This is an example here. It's a nice design. You see the button there. It says inquire about your event. It's actually written in a second person point of view, which is good. You refer to them as you, right? So it's more personal. And this is just part of this landing page, but it shows a brief description of course, that space. It shows the experience. And then it talks about what is that area perfect for, and it shows the room capacities, and it's easy again to take action on, right? It's really describing everything, the experience and all the information that people are looking for. All right, so now we're going to get into the last part of increasing your event leads even more. Now we're going to get into your customer database, because a lot of restaurants have customer database just sitting there, right? Or they might have it for collecting emails through their Wi-Fi sign up, or they might have it from a contest, or they might have it from their POS or whatever it is, but they're not really fully utilizing it. Okay, they might have it there. They might send some emails about promotions or things like that. But again, you can leverage this database into doing things that are very profitable. It's really bold line. Okay, so why email, right? Why the database? Because first, if you have this database of people that have already been to your restaurant before, they know you, and the engagement rate is going to be way higher, so open rates, than with people that have not heard about you, right? So let's say if you ever bought a list of data, let's say you wanted to try that, you'll see that it's going to be very low, because they don't even know you, right? So with people that already been to your restaurant, you have that database, and you can reach out to them, your open rate, of course, is going to be way higher, in the interest, okay, your engagement in general. Lower customer acquisition costs, as you know, when somebody has already visited your restaurant, the chances that they're returning, be provided a great experience, are a lot higher. So your customer acquisition costs, of course, when you have a database, they're going to be lower. The targeted campaigns for higher ROI, that means that when you're running these campaigns, your ROI is going to be higher than when you're reaching out to people that don't know you, right? If you don't have their information. Okay. And then, of course, improve customer lifetime value. That means, of course, it will help with, again, with retention. Okay. All right. So how do you set this up for private events? Okay. So if you have a database, ideally, you would have a database for people that have had private events before, right? So you want to structure this. You want to segment that list based on last visit, because you want to create incentives based on last visit, based on the time that was their last visit, the last event. So you're going to have the people that came back between 30 and 60 days, then they have 90 days, and then over that. Okay, so you want to pull that list if you have it. If you don't have it, that's okay. If you just have a big list, you can still do this. You're not going to be able to segment, of course, by last visit or last event, because you don't have that information. But you can still use this tool and this strategy to reach out to them. Okay, this is not your regular email that usually restaurants are used to, where you're sending a promotional email with a image or and then just a little bit of text, and it's it's all designed. This here that we're talking about is personalized email. That basically means that you're writing an email, like if it was the events manager writing a personal email to that person, reaching out, and there's a specific way that you're going to reach out to them. Okay, because to not create that salesy pitch that annoys people and they're not going to respond. In this strategy, what you want to do is first check on them, right? To basically take the role of customer satisfaction, right? So then you're reaching out to them and saying, hey, I know that you visited our restaurant, and if you have the data on this and this date, of course, and we just wanted to check in to see how your last visit was and if everything was, how according to your expectations, something like that, right? Well, you create templates for that. We're going to talk about that in a second. So then you open up the person to say, oh, wow, these guys are really, interested into how my experience was. I really rarely get this from restaurants because you rarely see it. And then once you do that, then you go into the pitch, but very, politely, right? So then now I just wanted to let you know, that now that, for example, if the holidays are coming, in this case they are, the holidays are around the corner, and we have a special offer for if you're looking for, booking an event with us, okay? And if you book now within the next 15 days, right, we're offering a 10% discount, or we're offering free, complimentary champagnes for up to 20 people. I don't know, something like that. Whatever offer you want to set up, that's what you can set up. But now, see, you open them up to see, hey, these guys are providing excellent service, and now you're coming in with the offer. Okay, so that's more like, again, the personalized email. Okay, so use a CRM tool for this. You're going to require this if you want to do it properly. So besides, yes, your CRM tool that you have for your for private events like Triple C, right? And that's just for event management. There's other tools for doing this type of thing. So it's to send those personalized emails, which you can automate all of these things. So you don't have to be sending one by one, of course. And then it's also going to keep track of your pipeline. Basically, it's going to keep keeping track of the people that respond, and then you're going to be moving them along the sales pipeline. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. So let me jump there really quick so I can just show you. So this is, for example, a pipeline. Okay, this is a sales pipeline. So you have your first email that you sent with the incentive. You're going to create a pipeline per different incentive, so then you can keep track of the different ones that you're sending out, and you're doing the first outreach, and then if they don't respond, right, or if they respond or show interest, and then and if you set up already an appointment, or if you already called, whatever it is, that stages that you want to set up here in your pipeline, that's how you set it up. Okay, so then you're moving the contacts that you have in your database. Once you send out the campaign, right, all those emails, again, it's going to be automated, and then you start moving them through this pipeline, so then you know where they are. Okay, so this is really going to be, and you'll see the results on this are really, really cool. People are going to actually be responding to those emails, and then you have a much better chance, of course, of offering these things and closing those sales. All right, so again, like I was saying, create incentives page on each segment. Of course, if they haven't visited in a longer time, if you have that information again, then the incentive is going to be more aggressive, right? And then you can also, what you want to do is create the templates, email templates. So save time. You don't have to do this one by one. You create templates. And here are some examples, the 30 to 60 days offer, right? Like I was saying, we're starting with the guest satisfaction, right? Manager, and then you see how they're doing, or you can just present yourself. If it's you checking in, it's even better, right? You're the owner. You say, hey, just checking in to see how your last visit was and all that stuff. They're going to be really excited to hear from you, and then you go into the pitch, right? So you create these templates that you can use on that platform. Okay, so free tools that you can use, the CRM tools. Sorry, I forgot to talk about this. HubSpot is a good one. It's I think it's up to 1,000 contacts that it's free, and then you pay to use it, but it's not much for this particular service, just for the CRM tool side of it, and then creating the pipelines and being able to set that up. If you have an events manager that can do that for you, I would highly recommend that they do it, because it's going to help them, of course, in general, just for the whole sales process. Okay. And now you're going to set up those personalized emails. Make sure that on your tool, there's an option to set to include the first name. So it's going to refer always to the person in their first name. Okay. Those details on how to set that up, I'm not going to get into, because it would be very lengthy. But again, you'll find all that information in a tool like HubSpot. You can look definitely different tutorials where you can use to set that up, so you can set up these personalized emails. And lastly, so you want to set up an automated response, an automated email and response to reminding whoever's going to respond to those leads. So when you send that email and they respond, that should be, of course, the person is going to be notified immediately. The person is going to be responsible for booking that event, be responsive, so you can respond really quick. And you can also set up SMS reminders, right, or SMS text notifications when a lead comes in, so they can follow up immediately and have way more chances of closing that. Like I mentioned, if you follow up within the first 5 minutes, there is 10 times the probability they're going to be able to close that sale. Okay, so we went through the pipeline. These are the email examples that I showed you for the templates, and that's how you set that up. All right, so that's that in terms of all the things that we're going to be covering today. Just a couple more things, and then we're ready to go. So the questions that you want to ask your paid ads provider, if you have one, it's important to think about these things, because you might have an agency that you're working with, but you're not really seeing results. So these are some of the questions, or if you're considering somebody, that you want to ask them. So how much budget will go to Google AdWords spend versus management fees? Because some agencies charge in different ways. So find that out. What type of tracking will they be putting in place? Do you do AdWords call and web form conversion tracking, right? And I want to ask them, because again, tracking is super important if not going to be able to know your ROI. So also, I would really highly suggest that you find somebody that is familiar with restaurants, because if it's not, you have to find an agency that understands how this works and how restaurants work, because it's really valuable when they're providing these type of services. Okay, well, they'll delineate PPC calls versus organic calls. That means in the tracking, where they're going to show those two things. If you're just the people that are calling directly and people that are actually doing it from your ads, that need to separate those things so you can provide the right information. So how will they track the key performance indicator, the KPIs? And also if they provided a live dashboard, right? Because it's great when somebody provides a live dashboard, which in our case, we do provide you a live dashboard where you can see the results of what's going on with your campaigns. All right, what are your key metrics that you track? And then do they set up specific landing pages per ad group? That's also, which we covered in the training. Ask them that. And if you're driving traffic to landing pages, how will those pages be optimized for conversion? And then lastly, if they split test, if they're continuously optimized. What makes our campaigns better and different? We create tailored strategy for your restaurant. Again, we start at the root. We really look at your particular case, and we create a strategy specifically for you. We come from the business, we're still in the business, so we understand your needs. And so we really speak the same language and can really help you. We use a combination of strategies. It's not just one thing. We use different channels and different things to drive the best results. And again, we have the knowledge of the intricacies of the business, so we know how to do that. And we do split testing. Of course, we set up conversion tracking the right way, so you can have really a breakdown of what's working to the level of ad group and keywords that are driving the results. And then, of course, we leverage our experience with running these with numerous restaurants and and then also from personal experience with our, actually my own restaurants in the past. All right, so there's complete transparency in terms of ad spend and reporting, and again, we're just very transparent in how we work. And again, since we've been in your shoes before, the just the level of relationship and understanding is completely different. All right, so that's it for me today, guys. Thank you again for joining me for this webinar. I hope you really got a lot out from this. If you need help at any point in time, if you need help, with driving those event sales, if you don't have the time or the team to execute this yourself, we're here to help. We can, we definitely have a program that's specifically designed to grow your private event, and which we use all of these strategies that we covered in this webinar, and to really help you maximize your leads and your event bookings. All right. Thank you, guys, and I hope to see you on the next webinar. Take care.